Hello and welcome, I'm Camcraft. Today's video is part 1 of 4, centred around the DerpBirds ecosystem. We have Melau joining us to talk through everything about the DerpBirds. Sit back, enjoy, and I hope you learned something. So Melau, how are you today?
Good, good. Glad to be here, and I'm excited to make this video with you.
Thank you very much for joining me, of course, especially on New Year's Eve, and hopefully you've got lots planned for later. Um, so
Oh, you know, I'm an old guy, so spending time with the wife, that's probably about it.
You're not as old as me, so that's absolutely fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's all good. So today we're going to be talking about the collections. The general rundown from the DerpBirds to the Derplings, the Apes, and the Preds. There's a lot to talk about, as you're fully aware. So what we'll do is we'll start by watching the very first video that DerpBirds dropped. It's their introduction, launching soon video. Remind us all of how it began. So let's get right on in. It really does take me back, just the original artwork.
That's all art dirt too.
Yeah, good old art. He was such a guy, to be fair.
I remember watching this for the first time too.
I watched this again earlier, and I was just, with all of the videos I've watched again today and gone, they've just done so much. So much. And even this very first video, it's catchy, it's good. It's fitting for what it was at the time, isn't it?
You notice how they had the most rare derp of all, and you can kind of see the little deity crown, but that's not the one that they were teasing.
I would have thought the ghost, but
Yeah. That's what that's what my assumption is, because that is the rarest one.
it's a really good video for a very first one. Back in September 2021, I joined pretty much on mint day. I think there was 2 rounds of mints, wasn't there? Because there was an issue with
Yeah, I missed all of that. I came in after everything was fixed, and I was in Discord whenever everybody was excited and had their derps already. And I was shopping on cnft.io at the time for my first derp. Yeah.
So, where did they go? So,
Yeah.
where does a lot of the projects gone? To be fair, but it's you know where we are. We are. It's 3 and a bit years on from DerpBirds launch, and you know DerpBirds are the main part of the collection. So we will start with the DerpBirds, really. And as we know, originally the OG artwork now, as we just saw, was by Art Derp. You know, it was him, Geek, and Dave that started the collection in the first place, and it had this, you know, derpy look to the birds, didn't it? So, you know, I
Yeah.
really enjoyed that. That's what brought me to that, was the derpy look, the cartoon look.
Yeah, it was different from what you saw like early on in Cardano NFTs. There was the art wasn't the highlight of things, and to see like it was just different, you know, because you were, of course, we're used to apes and other animals, and like I think this was like the first like human looking animal that was on Cardano. So it looked cool. It looked cool. That's what caught my eye. The video, of course, the one you just showed, um, it grabbed my attention. That's why I joined. And then joining the Discord, of course, you know, the Discord in the early days was absolutely insane. And that community is really what kept me coming back. And just the art itself with the OG DerpBirds. Some people argue that they still love that more than the Rebirth art. So I'm a fan of the Rebirth art.
I do miss the original art because that's what I fell in love with, but I do love the new Rebirthed art now as well. So yeah, nostalgic is a great word for it, I believe. Yeah. Obviously, we have. I've taken us to the DerpBird website, the app, and you know the marketplace is just the quickest, easiest way for us to look at the collections in general. And you can see on here that as I went through yesterday, the filtering system within the website is just brilliant. To be honest, you know, you can really look for whatever you want at any time. But we have the different rarities, which we have the uncommon, the common, the scare, which is again one of those common mistakes that seem to happen within the DerpBirds, and it's just the community pick it up, and it's just great, isn't it?
It started at the beginning. Whenever I saw it, I was like, "This is." It's of course classic Derp. Like you will still find stuff that is misspelled or just whatever it may be, and we make fun of it. But yeah, the whole early NFT things with like way rankings worked, and this was like something different. Like the way that DerpBirds did their rarity was different than what other people were doing. And I mean, if you notice, uncommon and common, there's actually more uncommon rarity than common, but common is worse than uncommon.
Yeah.
So that's a weird little thing. It's just the way they did the with the archetypes, and it was different. Because they did it as an accumulation of all the different traits, which are the archetypes, the 14 archetypes.
Yeah.
And so, because of what archetype you were and how much of each there were, it gave you that overall rarity. And it created a weird dynamic, but it worked. So, it was cool to see that difference in what Derps were bringing early on, right away, like how they were ranking their birds and the traits and stuff, different from other people. They actually put the rarity in the name, which was interesting at the time because you didn't do that with NFTs.
Yeah, it was interesting, and I think there was a lot of talk about that later on with the other collections that then came out through the DerpBirds ecosystem. That there was talk about, well, should they, shouldn't they? And I definitely was for it because I just felt that great, you knew what you were getting yourself into. You knew what rarity you were going to get, but some people felt that it's better to not put a label on there so that you can base the value off of certain traits. Some scare birds will have really rare traits like a deity hat or head or something on there, but it will still be like an uncommon, or a scare, or probably not an uncommon. But let's have a look. So we go, if we go onto here, we go to head, we go to deity, which is one of the archetypes, and let's go to uncommon. See,
Yeah.
uncommon DerpBirds, an uncommon
if you would-
buff.
And if you wouldn't have that uncommon label, somebody would see that and be like, "Oh, I want to buy this because of the deity head," right? So it kind of,
100%.
I understand the dynamics of like, "Oh, it's uncommon though," but no, it doesn't matter. It looks cool. So that's like the
Yes.
thought process later on of like, okay, maybe we shouldn't put the rarity title in the actual metadata so that people can, you know, hey, I got an uncommon here and throw it. It's good for those that are paying attention and that understand what's going on in the ecosystem because like someone can throw, oh, I got an uncommon bird. Let me throw it on the marketplace and sell it. And then the good trader, the good derp trader sees a deity head and like, oh, of course I'm gonna buy that. And that comes into play later on because the traits is what made the power scores for the dirt birds and what ultimately is how they are ranked and how they are valued inside the ecosystem through staking and different stuff like that. So yeah, it
Definitely.
was interesting.
It really was. And obviously back then, day one, we've evolved tenfold since that point. But like DD per epoch wasn't even a thing at that point. But
XP.
so that now adds in. So the rarities of certain traits will still make certain DerpBirds, uncommon or not, worth more. So somebody deems this to be the cheapest floor DerpBird that they have, 350 ADA today, and that's 145 DD per epoch. But then randomly you're going up to here, you've got 326. That's more than double and exactly the same price. So, like you just said, anybody that's willing to actually look into it or to put that effort into realizing what is and isn't worth some investment, shall we say, that they might not spot this, will they?
Yeah, and then just to add on to that, I didn't do the equation, but I know that even with the OGs, like so you see like the 300 whatever DD per epic, if you rebirth that, I think it'll probably go up to about 4 to 500 DD per epic just by rebirthing it.
Okay.
It changes that equation.
It's
I'm
been
not
such a long
sure the
time
math.
since I've done it that I don't even think I remember anything about that. But yeah, no.
So you have bought one. If you look at the DD now, like
Mm.
look at it before and then look at it after, and you'll see that it goes up a little bit.
That is a very good point. So, I bought a
Yeah.
legacy today so that we can test that theory, and I should have bought the other one for 320. Look, I just bought one of the cheaper ones, but I quite liked it because I like the cyborg back and the cyborg head. So I thought, okay, I'll just get this one. But that's 253. So we'll see when we rebirth that a little bit later in this episode.
I'll have the cyborg face. Oh no, the shield is the head, right?
Yeah, it is the head,
eyes.
yeah.
Okay.
So they're, I think, the magic eyes, aren't they? Which aren't
Yeah.
amazing, but again, as we know, we can now change the eyes.
You
You know,
can
you
change
can
it. Yeah,
you
we
can
got
make them look
customization
however
now.
you want, which again is not to be really touched on in too much detail today because that's a whole episode in itself. But there is so much stuff as you will find out within these videos. So okay, we'd have to go back now. So head back over to the marketplace. I think I've pretty much covered it off anyway, but so we got the legacy which we were just talking about, and I'll just quickly recap back onto where we were just going with that. So if you had then an uncommon with a deity head, you can see already that okay, there is one here that's still in the 300s, but generally they are all 300 plus, and that's purely just because of that head, and it's just this one here is probably one of the highest ones because of the cyborg beak as well.
One of the big things I did later on, whenever I knew like that power scores and staking was happening, is I made sure to get scares, a whole bunch of scares, because what was happening was a lot of times scares would have common and uncommon traits to make them look normal, and so people would put them near, almost on the floor, if not on the floor, a little bit above. But what would happen was because they had those couple of traits, like a maybe a deity head or something that might not, maybe not deity, maybe it was something like a mad scientist, which is pretty high, or a buff trait that doesn't look necessarily flashy, but it was a good trait to have. It would rank them higher in the thing. So I personally bought a lot of scares, knowing that people would kind of throw them near the floor, but I knew that those would be more valuable in staking and stuff. So if you knew the system, knew the ecosystem, then you can get some good birds for pretty cheap, and that's what I did. I went after scares, and I think it paid off. I think I got a good flock of birds early on and held them, and then now I can customize them, and now those scares are basically rare power scores now, for the price of almost four birds at the time. Um,
It's a good
so yeah,
play.
it was
You made a good choice there, I think. Definitely.
yeah, it's and when you like anything with derps, like you said at the beginning, like and I've been watching your videos, there's a lot to cover, and so the more you know, the better equipped you are at finding the little gems inside of the ecosystem. uh and the more time you spend in the ecosystem, the more you learn. There's still stuff I'm figuring out and finding out even to this day, that I was like, oh wow, that was there's that's going on, like I had no idea. Little things here and there. So it's fun to be a dirt bird. Let's just say that.
They keep you entertained, don't they?
Yeah.
So this is obviously the rebirthed art, which already, as we just clocked a minute ago, is that it has some of the upgraded traits that you would get through adventures. But we won't touch on that today. But it is really good to see that people are utilizing those traits and then adding them into the system, and it's working flawlessly as it should, really, which is great. But what we'll do is we'll hop over to our video section and we will look at the DerpBirds Rebirth trailer that came out in November 2022. So obviously we've jumped on just over a year. This is just over a year from launch, and there's parts that obviously we've not covered yet, which we'll get to in the Derplings. I'm just keeping on the DerpBirds, then the Derplings and Derp Apes, but so we are jumping out of the timeline. But within the space of just 13 months, there were so many milestones that they'd hit, that they'd got to a point where they'd gone, you know what, our DerpBirds are great, you know, and we like the art. However, they saw that some people within the larger communities didn't quite dig the art. You know, it wasn't for them. But they also saw that they were stuck. If they didn't upgrade to the later, I can't remember the actual number, but it's CIP, wasn't it? CIP 68 or something like that, wasn't it? If they didn't update to the later NFT version, the policy would get locked. They'd no longer be able to migrate those or do anything with them. So what they chose to do was basically the Rebirth system and bring out the Rebirth 2.0 on the later CIP model, which meant that the dynamic traits, the upgraded DerpBirds, which we now are seeing, could happen. So, you know, it's been 3 and a bit years, but already you're seeing the timeline of how DerpBirds have progressed over that time and where they've got to. It's great.
And then also to add to that, like, of course, people were saying, like, you know, yeah, I didn't really care for the art, so you had those, but then you also had the holders that we like the OG art, but man, we get something new, something fresh, and so it was like kind of a double whammy. Like, okay, you get to give something new and fresh to the holders, put a new fresh spin on the art and the project, but also appeal to outsiders that may have not jumped in because of the original art, right? And then, like you said, there was an underlying factor of it being able to put it to SIP 68 so that we can have what we have today with customization and everything. So it was a very smart move not long after the launch to have this upgraded art. And I remember this video. It's pretty epic.
Great. So what we'll do is we'll get into it and we'll go from there, really. This, like I said, it's a few videos in, so they'd learn from what they liked. But this video, this is a really good video. I did like this. Stuff. Lots
this
of
was
stuff.
right before conference, right?
Before what, sorry?
This was right before the NFT conference, right?
Yes, that's right, because they were hoping to launch them before, weren't they? But just some of the glow-ups they had, just insane. Cosmos did a really good job on these. Yeah, I loved watching this video a few times over, I think.
They got rid of that. The ninja head.
They changed it, didn't they?
They changed it. Mm-hmm.
And just what DerpBirds have achieved in such a long period of time, and for such a long period of time, didn't ask for anything more, really. You know, how little did we have to pay for all these upgrades? Is crazy.
That's clearly more stuff for your stuff.
And I know I've said it a few times, guys, but stuff. You know, this is Cardano Thor in the background. Stuff for your stuff. And that just tells you now, 2 years ago, just over 2 years, and we've still got so much stuff. It's the IP, isn't it?
You know, looking back at this video,
more stuff for your stuff.
Do you realize that you realize if you go back, I didn't catch this until just watching it now. It looks like those islands in the back with like the buildings on it. Was that a hint at Outpost?
Yeah, comms tower on the top, look.
Yeah, like
All
that
the
was this was right at Rebirth, so this was 14 months after launch, and they already were thinking about. I don't know, but to me that looks like a an outpost island.
I think Dave has said on many occasions there was so much stuff inside these videos, that particular roadmap and the later roadmap as well. That it's just there, and there is stuff that we could have figured out. But how would we figure out there's something called Outposts?
Also, the mountain with the flag
Mm-hmm.
and the trail up to it, adventures.
Yeah,
You
it's,
know?
it is, and it's like Cardano Thor was told where to look because he said stuff. It's so, it's great. There is so much stuff there, isn't there? And the artwork was just next level. That screensaver was a screensaver on my phone, on my PC. It was everywhere for such a long time because it was just vibrant, colourful, current. Really, it's really enjoyable. Really, really was. That was the video that we were shown 2 years ago. 2 years ago, and that was such a fun event. I really did enjoy that. And
It's still happening today. You can still rebirth
yeah,
into the new art.
which I was just about to say. What we'll do is I will to end this section on the DerpBirds. I will just do a rebirth, and we can experience that together now because I haven't done one in a long time actually.
Yeah.
So on the website, if anybody is interested, you can buy an OG if you have an OG in your wallet. You come to the website, the app.derpbirds.io. And on this play tab here, this is where you get all the fun stuff. So unfortunately, you can no longer upgrade your Preds, but you can rebirth a DerpBird still from OG to Rebirthed 2.0. You can obviously go to the Goldrush and you can go to Adventures. So there are different sections within the app that you can go to and you can have fun, basically. But we're here today on the Rebirth. I have this one OG to upgrade. So when I click this, it tells you up here, one selected. It tells you that it's going to cost me 120 Derp tokens. That's not DD, is it? It's 120 Derp. I hope I've got some Derp in my wallet. You hit next. Start the rebirth. Hopefully that's gone through. Praise the deity, the Derps have been reborn. Rebirth is the start of season 3. Read more about this in the Derp guide.
That's all. It's so funny how like, oh, check her out.
See,
nice.
that's so quick.
I didn't. Yeah. I didn't expect the red like that. See, that was like one of the things. Like some people love the vibrant colors. Some people like the more laid back, like subdued coloring that art did. I personally, there were some that I liked, some that I didn't. But I loved what Cosmo did with the art. There's with one exception. I think people didn't like the Millie eyes, the Viking eyes.
No.
Yeah.
A lot of people disliked those, Millie included, I think. Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. That was, but I feel that there was always going to be controversy with an upgrade because you can't please your 1,000 followers, 500 followers, however many it is that have got different assets. You just can't please everybody, unfortunately. And I think that throughout the time with the DerpBirds, with the Preds, there has been times where people have been like, oh, I don't quite agree with that, but Dave and the team, they had to make hard decisions, and I don't think they've done anything wrong, really. I think the decisions they've made have been the right decisions for the project, and I think it's worked out in the end. There might be people a bit like, yeah, but we've got used to it, haven't we? And it's good. So I'm quite happy with that. That's turned out really well. That's so quick, and that should already be in my wallet. So what should happen is I should be able to come back over here, go back to your profile.
For those watching, Cam doesn't lose the OG art. Like if you go and you look, it still has the OG art in the wallet, in the metadata. Especially if you go like on Pool, or even if you look at it on JPEG Store, it's still there. Or on the app, if you click on it, it'll have the art there. Yep, right
there we go. It's here. The power score on Epoch hasn't updated yet. Maybe it'll happen in a minute, but for now,
and you get the head.
You get the head. I just remembered that as well. So many memes have been made about DerpBirds that they decided in 2.0 art they would give us just the head pre-cut out, so that you could stick your head onto anything you wanted, and that's what's happened. So yeah, you get to keep the original art. I was not expecting that to be a pink background. I didn't read it. That looks white.
That was like the whole thing with Art Derp's art. Like those background colors were so faint, like you couldn't even tell like what color they actually were.
Nice, it's absolutely crazy, and you can see from the story. So this rebirthed, and it gave birth to these as well, which is cool. So now potentially I can go and find these on whoever has them. I can acquire them, shall we say, if they're not prisoners, and they then become. I get a reward for that, for holding the family, holding the dad and the derpling. So if I was to click on that one, I can then see from the story that it's a prisoner. So I obviously can't go for that one, but it's a very good way.
What does a prisoner mean?
Sorry?
What does it being a prisoner mean?
So that means obviously that it's been traded in, shall we say, invasion from the Preds, and they've locked him up in their prison. So no longer are they attainable unless the correct
break them out.
The correct time comes where they can be broken out, which is something that they've spoken about for a long time, isn't it? But it's only if the time is right will that ever happen. Which I could see that as an adventures mission in a couple of seasons' time. That's whether it be the original owners, whether it be a completely random mission, I don't know, like a kind of mint type of thing. But everybody has traded in their derplings or DerpBirds to get a pred at some point, which we'll get to in a minute. And they did that knowing that they would lose that asset. So hopefully no one's expecting to get their assets back, but who knows what direction the DerpBirds team will take.
Yeah, I definitely see it happening through an adventure with the way they have it set up. It'd be easy plug and play. And like I said, with Rebirth still being open, you have all those OGs that are captured, because they're all OGs art that is captured. It all happened before then. And I think only those were. Wait, was it only those that were able, or were you able to do Rebirth capture?
No, it was only
It was only. It might be Rebirth art as well.
No, it's just OG.
It's just OG. Okay, so that makes sense. So, like I said, OGs are captured, so they're able. If we get able to rescue them, we can come back and rebirth them to be able to use them in adventures.